everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the second episode in our series, The Importance of Blind Culture. We're really excited today because we have a special guest. But before I introduce her, I want to go ahead and introduce our coach, Maico. Most of you know who Maico is. You may have gotten a coaching session from him. If you haven't, then you might in the future. So how you doing, Maico?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you feeling?
I'm great, doing really good. Looking forward to this episode because, you know, the special guest we have, I know is someone very special to you as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I will introduce Brittney Ahern. Hi, Brittney.
Hi.
How are you today?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. So
Doing amazing.
Yeah, Brittney is a former educator, and she's also a first responder, EMT, and she's currently a student, a nursing student. So she's going to bring a wealth of information to us here about blind culture. So we're definitely looking forward to what you have to say today, Brittney, because blind culture is, you know, it's something that not very many people are aware of, right? So you had a project, right, that you worked on in regard to blind culture?
Yeah, that's kind of how this started. So I was given a cultural competency. It's kind of it's a skill that we're all supposed to have as nurses, is being competent with like knowing how to treat different cultures. And so we were asked to make a pamphlet to teach other nurses about a particular culture. And so I was like, well, why don't I just do like a disability culture, like maybe a deaf culture, but blind culture? And I was like, well, let's start searching for information about blind culture. So I Google it and I'm like, is there a blind culture? Because blind culture came up with like weird things. And so I said, is there a blind culture? And the resounding results were no, there is not a blind culture, which was really
very interesting.
Really weird. So I made one. I was like, no, we're gonna fix that because that's how I roll. So I started kind of searching about what a disability culture is. So it's really, really interesting. It's a thing that we have disability cultures. So the idea is that you belong to another culture too. And people who have a disability culture can be, you know, worldwide. They can be anywhere in the entire world. And also it's values, norms, and beliefs that are created by experiences of those with disabilities. So you all know that you guys have different experiences and different things that you guys have gone through as people with visual impairments, and you guys can bond over that. And so that's the idea behind a disability culture.
Yeah, and it's a unique thing, the disability culture, because you can be, it's not necessarily a subculture, but you can be, you know, a part of, you know, multiple different cultures, right? So you can, you know, identify yourself, you know, through your religion, through your nationality, but also even within that, within pockets of that, you have, you know, like people that are blind, right? People in your community that have low vision, that are deaf, that have similar disabilities to you. So it's cultures within cultures.
It's a really interesting thing too, because like you can be Hispanic and be part of Hispanic culture, Mexican culture, African American culture, and of course all of those come with their own set of norms and differences and uniqueness and diet and all of those
traditions.
Yeah.
Throw the fact that you have this disability on top of it, and that's a whole new
it's a whole new culture.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so I took it upon myself to start kind of defining blind culture. So for me, it was about awareness and empowerment. I noticed that once Maico started kind of developing independence and figuring out how things were and realizing that he wasn't alone in this whole journey, he was empowered. And I think that that's a big part of it, is the empowerment and independence when it comes to people with visual impairments.
Right. So, you know, just to kind of give a little context here. Brittney, you've been there from the moment that Maico lost his sight, right?
Just after.
And so,
Yeah.
Just after a year. Okay, so like this is what kind of triggered your whole interest too, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that experience.
So it was very interesting. And a lot of visual impairments are progressive in nature, so they get worse over time. Where his is a little bit different. We thought he had stagnated and that it was never going to change, and that's what it was. But it actually started to improve. And so his is a whole unique ball game. And so as soon as we started seeing that promise, I kind of started digging in, and I was like, okay, well, who else can we go see? Who else can we find resources from? And so it's been a fun journey for me, because I get really excited about things like that. I'm like, oh, Center for the Blind here in San Diego. And it's been fun.
Yeah.
But it's also been really rewarding watching him grow, and watching him, even when he has because he has good days, bad days, right? And
Sure.
even when he has a bad day, he's still independent. He's still over there cooking. He might leave the stove on, but he's got it, right?
I'm not sure if that has to do with blindness though.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I had a client just yesterday ask me, she said, hey, I got a personal question for you. Do you ever have days where you can see better than other days? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are days, depending on how tired I am, depending on the light outside, the light inside, how stressed I am. There are a lot of factors, right? That some days I do feel good. Some days I don't feel as well, and I don't see as well. And it took me, however long it took me to realize these things, right? Brittney also helped me out and kind of explained these things in layman's terms to me. But here I am with a client, and for all I know, this is possibly the first time that she's heard anybody else say that, hey, that's normal. That's for me anyways, that's normal.
Oh yeah,
So
we definitely have what I call our good eye days and our bad days. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think to just say that I woke up, and as a nursing student, I studied about this and I learned about this isn't true. So you have to understand, if you're going in, because we have to bring healthcare into this, right? So if you're going into the hospital and you're coming in contact with the nurses, whether it's your pediatrician's nurse or a doctor or your nurse as you're hospitalized, they haven't necessarily been educated about the needs of visually impaired people. It might be a blurb in a section of a textbook that was used over 6 weeks, where you have to realize all nurses are doing research daily. So before they go in and they get their caseload for the day and they start looking, they're like, oh man, I haven't done care for this kind of a patient with this condition in a long time. Let me research it and refresh my memory. So don't go in assuming all nurses and all doctors really have a great understanding of it. So you have to really advocate for yourself and make sure that you're saying what you need, and saying what you don't need and what you don't want at that moment. It's super important. And in that, yes, independence is also very important, but also recognizing that we depend on each other as humans. So if somebody's offering help, it's not necessarily because they see, oh, he's blind, he must need help. It's because we help people help people. And I think for the most part, people in the world are good. I have to believe that, right?
Yes.
Especially through COVID and all the craziness that brought.
Right.
But oh, hi, Darwin. So like we believe people are good. People are just helping each other. So don't get defensive and just be patient with other people as they try to help you. It's really, really important.
Right, because it's up to us too to kind of help educate the masses as well. You're absolutely right. We do have to have patience, and I know that sometimes we do kind of like, for me, sometimes I'll teeter with my patience. I'm usually very patient in a lot of different areas, but sometimes when it comes to being partially sighted, it's tough because it's people go from one end to the other, like they're obviously not aware, and so they're not like willing to help because they don't know, right? But as soon as they know, as soon as they know, then they go all the way to the other end and assume that I'm not independent when I am.
They want to do it for them.
So
Yeah.
there's like a middle
Yeah.
ground there, because I am independent for the most part, but I just need a little bit of assistance every now and again.
And I'm
Yeah.
guilty of that too, to be honest with you. Like, he'll be running his debit card at a grocery store, and I'm like, "Ah, it's fine, here, I'll do it." Like, and he could totally do it. And so I have to kind of remind myself, like, he can do it. Let him struggle through it. It's fine. And even though he's not struggling, it just takes him a minute, right?
Yeah. It just takes us a
Yeah.
little bit longer to do like simple tasks, and that's okay. But then when we incorporate some tool like IrisVision, then it's a whole nother experience, because all of a sudden we have way more independence because we can see, right? But then we have to turn around and like explain, like, oh no, these are my glasses.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
this is my the way that I can see, and so we have to go into that whole explanation, because people are like, oh, are you playing a game? No, I'm not playing a game.
Yeah.
I'm actually using my glasses to like see. So yeah, it's
Fun as
definitely,
it was.
yeah, it's definitely like I said, up to us to help educate everyone.
Absolutely.
It is, and low vision is a challenging thing because we don't wear our, and we've discussed this before, Myrna. We don't wear our disabilities on our sleeves. We can navigate the world for the most part without the need of a cane or any sort of assisted devices for the most part. But then we hit these points where we get stuck, and people see us and they think, well, what's your problem? Like, keep moving, push the button. It's like, well, hang on. Hang on. I can see, but I can't
Let me
see.
try to find the button. Give me a second.
First. So you're telling me there's a button here. Good.
This
stuff.
button, what's the shape of it?
What
What
is-
color of it, please?
Doesn't have a little
Exactly.
a little tactile indicator or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's important. You mentioned, Brittney, earlier to advocate for yourself. And it is important when you're going to an appointment, when you're going, to be seen by a medical professional, that you let them know, right? You might have light sensitivity. It's not just you're blind or you're not. They might need to dim the lights for you. You may have issues with certain colors, right? So you may, whatever literature they give you may need to be very simple and adjust to your however you see colors. So there's a lot of different levels of low vision that we need to be able to communicate. And then at the same token, yeah, these healthcare providers also need to be able to, recognize that and accommodate to it, not act like they're caught flat-footed. Like, what do you mean? Like they got to say, okay, oh, cool, you have low vision. This is your situation. Here, let me give you this. Is this helpful for you? Big letters. Do you like that? Cool.
Yeah,
Stuff like
because
that.
how many times do we go to, say, an appointment and they hand us this packet? Just fill these forms out. Okay, so I need assistance. I can't see to do that, and they just sometimes they're like understanding, and they're like, oh, okay, sure, like we can get somebody to help. And sometimes they're like deer in headlights, like don't know what to do. I'm like, and then that's when I have to explain. Well, usually I'll say somebody helps me fill them out. If it's out here in the lobby, or if it's when I go into the patient's room, somebody helps me fill it out. And that's if you don't have a loved one with you who could assist you with filling out the documentation. Then if you're by yourself, that's something that you can do. You could say, hey, I'd love to fill these out, but I kind of need a little bit of help. So just very rarely have I ran into situations where I go to a facility. It was actually where I was going to get my blood drawn. I needed assistance to fill out the form to choose what tests I wanted. And the guy just didn't want to help. He's like, I can't do that. I'm like, I'm legally blind. I need assistance. I can't see this paperwork. He's like, no, I can't do that. And I'm like, yes, you can.
It's like there's no way that he's fully educated on it, right? Because then he would need legal repercussions, right? So again, things like that where we have to educate them and be like, this is what's going on, and this is what has to happen per whatever guidelines and things like that. And it's really important. And we a lot of times learn from our mistakes. I learn best by making a mistake. And I've totally made the mistake with a patient who's had peripheral vision loss. and scare the bejeebies out of them, because I do emergency care. We touch people. Like, I'm gonna touch you, and there's a good chance I'm gonna help you take your clothes off, right? Because emergency departments, that's what we do.
Sure.
And so that's a very intimate thing, and if they don't see me coming, it can scare them. And so we just know things like that. Obviously, in an emergency, it is what it is, and things happen. It might scare you. It is, but, and you might not have a time to tell me that. But if I'm just in a doctor's office and you have peripheral vision loss, it's good for me to know, so that I don't come and touch your arm, scare the bejeebies out of you, right? I can let you know, hey, I'm gonna touch you here, which we should be doing anyway, but but
Right.
it's good to know. So yeah, it's really important, promote, educate, all of this that we're having, all these discussions that we're having. This is what it should be. This should be the norm with us, as the community, as the visually impaired and the visually impaired adjacent, as Maico would like to call them. So we have to establish a set of norms and expectations that we have with dealing with visually impaired, and visually impaired have expectations of those around them. So promote awareness, educate, and establish representation and change. So you need to be represented, and you need to establish change, and that's up to you. So it's super important. It's important that people start to realize that blind and low vision, they're two different things. One and the same is a weird umbrella of like spectrum, right? Of visual impairment. And so it's important that everybody kind of recognize that, and that when we're developing software and devices and tools, whatever they be, that we get input, that you all are using it and giving feedback, and that opportunity is given. So I know IrisVision kind of does that as well. You all are visually impaired, and you're coaches, and you're working, and you're doing this, and you're helping, and you're getting the feedback from people who have different impairment from you, right? Somebody might have, I don't know, macular degeneration, where you have retinitis pigmentosa, or Stargard's, or nerve
Glaucoma,
glaucoma, like the list goes on and on and on. And it's important that they get feedback from all of these people who will be affected. But I actually read a study last night. I got so excited after I spoke with you last night, Myrna. I read this study on the NIH. I actually have it down at the bottom, cited, where it talks about, it's the first time it's really been established conclusively that vision loss is related to depression. And
wow,
not just vision loss, but what comes with vision loss, which is a loss of independence. So it's been established that people are like, oh yeah, if I lost my vision, I'd be depressed too, because I couldn't see the sky. No, it's not that. It's the loss of independence causing the depression. And in nursing, we have to do everything based on studies. And now we have this study that is saying that the risk of depression is higher in visually impaired people because they lack independence. And in comes IrisVision and gives you your independence.
Yes.
Maybe not 100%, maybe sometimes, but you've got something.
So after hearing this, we were discussing this last night, and I started thinking, a lot of my clients, a lot of the people that I work with are very upbeat. They're typically pretty eager to learn, and generally in a good mood, right? They're excited. They want to get to use a headset. And I feel like this is the type of person that, has moved beyond the woe is me, I'm in this situation, and now, what do I do? So I think there's still a number of people out there. There's got to be a huge, I'd say it's a generalization, but a large number of people that are suffering with vision loss and blindness, and perhaps feel hopeless, or feel like, hey, nobody knows what I'm going through, right? Maybe they're in a nursing home or in some sort of facility, and they're just down in the dumps. And it's like, well, we gotta use our resources, guys. There are tools like IrisVision. There is a culture out there for you. there. There's communities out there for you.
But even then,
Absolutely, because yeah, I mean, I have worked with people from time to time who are kind of like in that depression because it's hard. You know, I'm also the facilitator of the local low vision support group here in my community. And, you know, there are a lot of people that I'm in contact with who are really quite depressed because of the fact that they can't see, so they can no longer drive. They can no longer take themselves to their doctor's appointments. They can no longer, like, again, fill out that paperwork independently. And these are people who maybe lost their sight later on in life. So their challenge is a little bit bigger than maybe someone who was born with sight loss, or maybe as youth came into sight loss, or maybe even as a young adult, because we've all had time to acclimate. Once you get, you know, to, I don't know what the number is, I don't know what the age is, but I feel like once you get to a certain point, it's even harder because now you can't do all the things that you were used to doing.
the more that you have, the more that
you
you
would
lose.
definitely know. I'm sorry, Brittney, what was that?
No, it's like the more that you've gained, so you've gained all this independence and you've been able to do so many more things on your own, the more that you have to lose, right? So you're losing more in your mind, right? Like that's got to be difficult to cope with, you know? And he brought up people in skilled nursing facilities. Well, if we're assessing them, and this is as nurse, I'm assessing a patient and they're depressed and they have visual impairment. It's like, well, yeah, they probably are depressed because they're visually impaired. There's nothing we can do to fix the impairment. Oh, well, no. There's something I can do to fix the depression because now I can help to establish some independence for you. Maybe you can't do 100% of the things on your own. You're probably not able to walk independently anymore, you know, or something of that nature. Your mobility is declined, but now you can put on a headset and read.
Right.
Or see the pictures of your family.
Exactly.
And I help with your depression. Absolutely, I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for people out there who may be going through something like that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for sure. By all means, I'm not a psychologist whatsoever, but I am someone who has Stargardt's disease and was diagnosed at the age of 12. So I know what it's like to live with sight loss. And, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, going out there and finding resources and getting involved, you know, like in like low vision support groups like the one here, things like that.
Absolutely. So
it really is. And like I'll speak from personal experience because I lost my sight at my 40s, right at 40. And I mean, I managed, you know, with the help of people around me and Brittney included, to find the Center for the Blind, right? To find to ask the VA about the VIST team and do things like that. But and not to knock, I don't want this to become we're bashing healthcare, right? Because they're great. They do amazing things. They work miracles. And I love my hospital and all my care team and the VA and everybody. But, you know, there should be, you know, we should get to a point where, you know, if you see a patient who is just recently lost their sight, right? It's something that was unexpected. It wasn't, degenerate or anything like that. And we should be able to point them to different groups, to different communities, to different centers where they might be able to help them out and might be able to try on something like the IrisVision so that they know,
Two is making sure that the nurses have the resources. So again, when I get in for the day, look at my roster, look at all of my caseload, and I say, oh shoot, he lost his vision 3 days ago. What can I do? And I go to Google it and there's nothing there because there's no blind culture, or there's no, you know what I mean? Or it's difficult. There's no comprehensive list of things that I can do for him. What do I do? Right. And then there's that whole like, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be really nice to you for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? And it's that helpless, like that's reality if you don't have the resources. So putting those resources out there, and for the blind community or the low vision community, it's important that you all start advocating for what you need. And if you talk to a nurse and you say, this is a good practice for me. This is what I need. And that starts to spread. Maybe it goes up. Maybe now there are researches going on to see if earlier intervention with these resources helps longer, helps in the long run. Maybe it decreases costs. That's usually what they're after, right? Is decreasing the cost in the long run. And sure enough, it probably will, because you're not going to have to spend as much on mental health resources and things of that nature. So advocate for yourself, start there, and eventually we'll start creating those resources for nursing, for your providers and for your family resources. So I actually started this as part of my project. So I created a little list of norms and some expectations for both the person with vision loss and their families. And this is absolutely not a comprehensive list, but before you get discharged or anytime you come into my office, if I'm working in a clinic or anything like that, I need to assess your needs. And I need to make sure that I'm leaving you in hands where you can succeed. So making sure that your care team, so your doctor, your nurse, your physical therapist, your occupational therapist, your speech therapist, all of the things that you need, your ophthalmologist, all of those things, they're all on one page, but still the other parts of the other members of your care team are you. You are part of your care team. You need to advocate for yourself and you need to state your needs. And your family. Your family should be educated as well. It's very, very important that the nurse and you and whoever is there, whoever can advocate, maybe your family's not there. Maybe you're going to go home to your family. You need to advocate and you need to let them know what you need. So I created a few little list. So number one, patience is incredibly important. So be patient, allow time for the visually impaired person to complete tasks independently. So the way that I broke this down, the first bullet point under each one is something that the family member can do. And the second bullet point is the person who is visually impaired, what they should be doing for themselves. So allow them the opportunity to do it on their own. And it took me a long time because I'm just helpful by nature, right? I'm like, I'll help you, I'll do it. And it's just quicker if I do it, and I'll help you a whole lot and make your life easier by doing it for you. But it's so important that you're independent. So it's important that your family members know how important your independence is for you. Ask for what you want as a visually impaired person. Say, I just need you to read this part. I don't need you to do the rest. I have my IrisVision, but this is a lot right now. And this is really tiny print, or maybe it's got some funky things on it.
Or you're having a bad eye day.
Exactly. I didn't have my IrisVision, but I can see the rest of it. I just need this one. So be very specific about what you want. Be aware of the different kinds of impairments. When we first, I'd never heard the term low vision prior to me finding a low vision specialist for him. I'd never heard that term.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It's insanity that I'd never heard that. But so then I didn't even know what to Google. So be aware, have the family be aware that there are different kinds of impairments and use the terminology that the person prefers. So I have a really bad habit of doing this. If he's getting frustrated with something, or if he's out in the public and he's taking a minute and they're kind of looking at him funny, he has face blindness. He doesn't see the funny looks that he's getting, which is great. But I see it, and
I find that a benefit.
It is.
I look at them and I go, he's blind. Yeah. I am totally a person, and he prefers to say, I'm visually impaired.
And see, I prefer to say I'm partially sighted.
Exactly. So part of what a family member can do is know how a person likes to be addressed. It absolutely helps with dignity and keeping spirits high. So I definitely am working on transitioning, but I do have a habit of looking at somebody and being like, he's blind. Let's stop it. And then ask your doctor for your appropriate diagnosis. So the only way that you can communicate with your providers about what you need and how you can get resources is to know what you have. So you have peripheral blindness, you have face blindness, you have central vision impairment, you have whatever it is. You need to know your diagnosis. I cannot tell you, and this isn't just with visual impairments, this is with any disorder.
General.
All of them, people don't know what they have, and it is so frustrating, but I get it. Sometimes they have like 20 diagnoses. I get it. So it's important that you know how to find your resources. Third thing, over there.
Oh, don't like that.
That doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. So be specific when giving instructions, when giving directions. He'll go into a place and ask, "Where's the restroom?" And they say, "Over there."
Over there. And yes.
Now,
Okay.
call third door to your left, right? Be very specific. And then because he's low vision, I'll even be like, "Over there," and point, because he can see my hand usually, but maybe he's busy looking at something. I'll say, "It's on your nightstand on the top," right? So be specific. And then if you're the visually impaired person, it's a habit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say over there. Say, I don't know what that means.
I would say over there is literally anywhere to me.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I just like to walk off in just a random direction and be like, okay, thanks.
You're walking out the door.
Yeah.
You're looking for the remote control, so you start walking out the door.
Fall out of a window.
Over there.
But yeah, also be patient. Like, we're giggling about it now because you have to at some point.
Yeah, you have to laugh, but
But be patient with others. I know it's frustrating, especially at first when you're adjusting to your new needs. But be patient with others and be like, "I don't know what that means." Use your true therapeutic communication skills.
right.
So these are all good tips. This is a great discussion, but where do we go from here? Now
So I'll quickly wrap this one up. So routines, and of course this, I'm sure you guys are going to make this available, but respect a person's routines, organization, habits. Don't be touching their things and moving their things. They
Don't
can't
do
do it too. And then if you are the visually impaired person, be specific about what you need. Be specific about why you don't want it moved. It seems obvious to you, but tell them, like, I can't find it if you keep moving it. And then devices and tools. So understand that tools are very personal for somebody who's low vision. Don't touch them, don't move them, don't do weird things to them. Although I know you guys like sharing your IrisVision with your kids, that's cool. But unless somebody's giving you that permission, back off, all right? And then if you're the visually impaired person, educate people. This is very important to me, please. It's very important that it stays right there, so that I know where my cane is all the time. Choice to use devices, it's always important, so that to understand that it's the person's choice to use a device, whether to use it or not, and when to use it, when they want to use it, when they want to carry it with them. Some people don't like identifying themselves as visually impaired out in public. So yeah, maybe every other time they go to the grocery store, they bring it because they want to get a certain thing. But they bring their IrisVision, let's just say. If they don't want to bring it that day, don't force them to.
Right. It doesn't mean that we're faking, and it doesn't mean that we're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. No, it just means that we don't necessarily need our tools like all the time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That part is like a tough one, because it can be quite the experience. And I know a lot of people out there probably understand what I'm talking about, because whether you're traveling, whether you're at the grocery store, you're shopping, you're walking around, if you one day have your cane or your IrisVision or your Pebble or your Ruby or whatever assistive technology you use because you need it, but then you go to that same place the next day and you don't have it, all of a sudden they're thinking, well, that's a fake person right there. They can't believe they're being like that. But it doesn't mean that. It just means that I just don't need it for that particular time.
Important too to be like, today emotionally I cannot handle somebody taking the long way around me because I have a cane. I get it. I don't want to be hit by a cane. I've stayed out of the way of a completely blind person, and it's not me being disrespectful, but I get where seeing it over and over again can be emotionally challenging. And so understanding that today I can't handle having my cane with me emotionally, tomorrow may be different. But it's very important that you tell your family, maybe not the reason, you don't have to tell them the reason, but today I'm not going to be using it. And it's very important that your family is respectful of that. So eating out, you might need to help with the menu, read the menu, or just discreetly be like, hey, on page 8 of the Cheesecake Factory's menu, there's a great Swiss burger. I don't even know if they have a Swiss
Page
burger, but
I love the Cheesecake Factory.
check out number 8,
On
page 8, page 20 of the menu.
Page 23.
That's where you're gonna want to. So start there. Be discreet about it if they need to. I know Maico, a lot of times it's been a funny challenge. We've been going down into Mexico now that quarantine's kind of ending. I struggle with Spanish still. So I read the menu in dark restaurants because we're going down into Mexico, but it's in Spanish and it's a struggle, but we manage. So if you want somebody to read the menu, cool. Another thing that I like to tell people is be on standby for the person. Say, do you need my help right now? No, you don't need me to read it. Let me know if you need it. I'm here if you need something. Being that kind of respectful. Food choices. If you're in a hospital, ask the nurse to remove clutter from the tray so you're not eating a flower or whatever kind of garnish that is on it, or picking up a plate.
Yeah, that happens.
A plate with no design on it, just flat white plate. That would be very helpful.
Plain plates. And then also if it's new, if you don't quite have that hand-eye coordination because you're newly impaired, ask for sandwich, burrito, something appetizers, something that you can hold, and maybe even it's your first time going and eating out in public and you don't really trust your hand-eye coordination, totally fine to be like, I'm just gonna get something that I can handle with my hands. Totally acceptable. Those are all good tips. And then encourage community involvement. I know since Maico's gotten involved with IrisVision, he has blossomed quite a bit in his self-esteem, his dignity. He's been around people and talking to people every day who have visual impairment. So that connection is super important. Be open. If you are the visually impaired person, be very open to getting involved in the community. And if you are the loved one, they might not be able to search it on Google because they can't see. So maybe maybe search some resources and be like, hey, look, I found these websites. Here's some places. Let me know if you're interested. Just FYI, here's a short little blurb. Anyway, so now what? The big takeaway here is tell your nurses, tell people what you need, tell them what you struggle with, advocate for yourself. Yes. They might have the resources to accommodate. They don't know unless you tell them. So if I have 2 visually impaired people in my care at one time, I'm going to treat them totally differently because I'm going to ask them, what can I do to help you? What can you do on your own? What would you like assistance with? What do you struggle with? And it's up to you to kind of reiterate it and let them know exactly what you need. Be specific. Maybe you don't know. Let them know. Let them know you don't know. And then be willing to try things, of course. And then more research on best practices, definitely needed. Nursing is based on evidence from research. So advocate for more research like the study I shared earlier. We're not going to be making changes in our protocols and the way that we do things without that. And so we really, as a community, need to start putting time and effort into advocating for those kinds of things. You are part of your care team. You need to help to determine the best practices for you and how you need to be treated. And that goes for you guys as parents as well, as visually impaired parents, because you're part of the care team for your kids.
Right.
So it's important that your pediatrician looks at you and says, what do you need as a parent? Because that's going to be very different for each of you. So Maico has a condition that improves or is approximately the same, where Myrna, maybe you have a degenerative disease and it gets worse. It's progressive and it gets worse over time. So if you have the same pediatrician for 14 years for one of your children, then day one, if you were already visually impaired when they were born, is going to look very different in 10 years. Right. It's going to look very different. Your needs are going to be different in 4 more years or 5 more years, and so your needs are going to change over time. And it's very important that you speak with them about what can I do as a parent to keep a better eye on my toddler as they go from infancy into toddlerhood, right? So those are needs that I know you've been at this whole parenting thing for a while, Myrna. So like,
Yeah.
you got bigger ones, so you've been through those toddler years, but maybe somebody has an infant and is visually impaired and they're becoming a toddler.
You just put bells on their shoes. You put little bells on their shoes. So you have to get the shoes with laces,
Yes.
little bells. That way, like you could hear. That's what I did with my kiddos.
Exactly.
I put bells on their shoes. So when we'd go to the mall or something and they'd be in the play area, I'd hear their little blink, 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 blink. I'd hear their little bells.
Yeah.
So
I recommend the tile, little,
Put a tile on their forehead.
put a tile on their necklace. Yeah.
Locate them via Bluetooth.
Okay, I'm like, what? Got it.
My last,
If you have an iPhone, find my device.
On my child.
my child device.
My child.
So my last and final takeaway is early referrals and interventions. Maybe you have some progressive disorder and you don't quite need an IrisVision yet. Go ahead and look into it. Go ahead and look into the tools that you're going to need. In 6 months, your vision might be different. In 6 months, you're going to start needing help. In a year, you're going to start needing more devices. It's better to start using it earlier because it does take time to learn. Be patient with yourself as you learn. And it's better to start early than to try and play catch up later, right? And so, and then if you have a disorder that stagnates, or you're very newly suddenly visually impaired, as in Maico's case, before you leave the hospital, ask, what can I do? Ask very specifically, like, what can I do? The reason that he did really, really well is he had a lot of people around him who were like, cool, it's Halloween now, so you're making the turkey at Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And he was just kind of thrown into it. And so they didn't really have any mercy on him, right? They were like, you're just going to deal with it. And
Travel fire.
exactly, literally. And so, yeah, get those tips and tricks in early, get some referrals to occupational therapy, this team, if you're VA, whatever it is that you need, ask for those things for yourself, for your family member, whoever. And those are definitely ways that you can start to advocate for yourself, and without a blind culture, without established norms, these things aren't going to happen. They're not going to just suddenly happen. It didn't just suddenly happen for the deaf community. It took a group of people who come together to really push for some of the changes.
Exactly.
Thank you, Brittney. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true that, and I see more and more out there in regard to blindness awareness. So that's awesome. This is a good thing, you guys. This is really good. The word is getting out. People are becoming a little more aware of what it's, of
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Starbucks put out a big message about they added Braille and large print menus to every store in the United States and Canada, I believe.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Sony is doing something too, right?
Sony. So I used to do product testing for Sony, and I got an email, and they were like, "We need blind and low vision people." I was like, "You guys know about low vision people?"
Yeah.
My friend. So yeah, they're doing some trials with some devices, not devices, but technology within.
Right, with technology. Right, because we use technology so much. It's come through a lot. Technology has advanced quite a bit to where now, like, if you're partially sighted or blind, technology is like a good friend because again, just with IrisVision alone, like that, it's technology that's helping us see again, and it's amazing.
20 years ago in a skilled nursing facility, if you had a bunch of people with macular degeneration or whatever, whatever condition, vision loss, they wouldn't be open to using the IrisVision. Now we're getting people who are 80 years old who have a laptop, who have an iPad, who have an iPhone or whatever. You know what I mean? They have all these devices already. They're already familiar with it. So it helps. Even if they don't help, they're making technology so user-friendly. And even visually impaired people can do it. You guys can do anything, I swear. You guys are superheroes.
Like
absolutely. No, but they are making them more user-friendly as technology develops, which is really, really cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much, Brittney. It was so educational. This is such an awesome topic. I love it. And of course, when it comes to blind culture, there's so many more, you know, different topics that we can discuss. So we're definitely going to continue that. Maico, any words?
No, there's a lot of layers to you know, to cultures and to visual impairment. So we have a lot to cover, and I think that we're only touching, you know, we're only touching the tip or touching the surface of this topic. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to this. And if you guys are out there and you're visually impaired, just know that there are others out there like you that have gone through this or that are going through this. So keep your heads up.
Definitely. And please, for sure, if you have any comments, any questions, any suggestions, leave them in the comments box, or, you know, send in an email to IrisVision. We are always happy to hear from you. We want to know what you want to hear about, because we want to definitely provide as much information to the masses as possible. So please do not hesitate to leave comments or ask questions.
Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, www.irisvision.com. Check us out.
Yeah. I want to thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the platform, for you sharing your platform, because it's so important that people really do advocate for themselves and their needs, because help us help you, right?
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Thank you, Brittney. Thank you, Myrna.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Definitely appreciate it. So everyone, have an awesome day, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.